All right, all right. Here we are. Welcome everybody to 343 Labs Television. My name is Atropolis, Ableton-Certified trainer, instructor here at 343 Labs, both online and in person. We're super excited. Today is the first day of the 343 Labs Sample Challenge. We got a little bit of teaching, some history, some techniques for those of you who are learning Ableton Live that want to go deeper. And then we will get into the submissions. We have about 6 or 7 submissions. I've gotten to listen to everybody's submission already. Thank you so much, everyone who has participated in the 343 challenge, sample challenge. We'll be hosting this every month. We'll be submitting a sample in which we will host this contest, which is for demonstrating the most creative uses of this sample, which is a little bit more unique. We're not entirely about the song and the greatness of the song, but rather how unique you took the sample and the many ways you've processed the sample is really what we're looking for in the sample challenge. So I just want to put that out there. And for those of you who are participating, keep that in mind for the next challenge. We are looking for creative ways of taking a sample and doing as many different processes to the sample. That's what this challenge is about, is taking a sample and working with it creatively. Again, my name is Atropolis. This is 343 Labs TV. We got so many awesome shows, so this is your first time joining us. Check out our other shows that we got every day almost. It's crazy. Free events, free information. And as always, if you want to go deeper, make sure to go to 343labs.com to check out all of our classes from Ableton, Logic, mixing, sound design, music theory, songwriting, all of this amazing tools to get you closer to the sound. So we're gonna cut up to start today with a little bit of a lesson about sampling, the histories of sampling. I'm going to share with you guys some techniques into the world of sampling, and then we'll get to the submissions and announce the winner of today, which we will be giving away one free Arturia plugin, which is super awesome when it comes to plugins. The Arturia plugins are awesome for analog emulation. I got some historic synths behind me, the Voyager XL, the Make Noise Machine module, and a Prophet 6. If you're looking to get a digital version of the Moog XL and the Prophet 6, this keyboard right behind me on the bottom, the Arturia sample packs, especially those that are emulating the V collection, are awesome. So that's what's going on. That's what we're going to be giving away today. So let's get into it. Let's talk about sampling. Let's talk a little bit about the history now that we're kicking off this course, this TV show. I have to talk a little bit about the history, the set, the tone. I mean, some of us, you guys might be sampling and not really even know. So let's get into it. Let's see what we got. I'm going to be flipping over here. You guys are going to be seeing my other view, my side view, but we're going to be looking at my desktop. So let's get into it. I want to get my screen. Yes. I got a lot on my screen. Switch device. All right. Got my Discord up. All right. Let's get my preview keynote. Where are you? Here it is. Boom. Art of sampling. And let's just make sure that this is on there. Yes, it is. Awesome. So, art of sampling. I'm assuming this is playing. Yes, it is. Let me just give myself a second and just make sure this is all working out the way we want it to. Let's see. 1 minute, please. It is. Beautiful. So the art of sampling. Here we go. What is sampling? Sampling, we're going to talk about first the main way. There's a lot of forms of sampling, and one of the main uses of sampling that we're used to is taking someone's music, right? Taking a snippet from somebody else's music and reinterpreting it in our own way. So this is what we see a lot in pop culture. This is what we see at the advent of hip hop. This is probably the most familiar way that we're used to sampling. So over the time, we've had some big artists, taking songs. Usually it's old songs from like 60s, 70s, and 80s and repurposing it. So let's take a quick listen. Okay, so just getting a little bit on the technical side. Just hearing that there's no sound coming through. I'm not sure to why. Let me just check everything. Yeah, we did. Okay. Um, yeah, just making sure. It's a little bit tough. Apparently, there's no sound, so you guys can't hear my voice. I'm understanding. Hmm. Max, can you please tell me what exactly do you mean that you're not hearing any sound? You don't hear my voice, or I haven't played any music yet. All right, so the stream just trying to iron out some kinks, but we're gonna go. Interesting. We can hear you. Okay, so what sound did you not hear, Max? You throw me off here a little bit. What's going on? Um, is the sound being played? Did you guys hear that music come through? Let me know. I'm gonna hopefully get through this, just the first part of this, and I apologize. Just a little issue with the audio. Let's just make sure everything's coming through. Ecamm. Yeah, everything should be coming out. Okay, well, here we go. So this is the original sample, followed by how the sample was repurposed.
In the place with style and grace, allow me to lace these lyrical douches in your bushes who rock grooves and make moves with all the mommies.
Okay, here's another famous resampling of The Clash. Original first. How the sample was repurposed is the second thing. Okay, so remember, the first audio clip is the original sample. The second audio clip is the sample being used in a new song. Got this area, whosampled.com. So if you're not, there's so much sampling going on in the world. If you want to learn more about it, you should check out whosampled.com. All right. So let's get a little bit into the history of recording technology, because we could not sample before we could record music. So let's go back into 1877. This is the first recording medium. You have to understand this is where we've dramatically changed the whole experience around music. Prior to this point, the only way we can experience music is through going to a show and remembering it. So this is the beginning of the music industry really changing dramatically. Shortly after 1877, the vinyl record, the gramophone was invented, and it's beautiful because the vinyl record is one of the oldest recording mediums, and it's making a huge comeback today. Okay, so again, this is really where the beginning of the music industry is changing dramatically, where now we have this physical product that we can sell and people can have an experience of music in their home. 1845, the advent of 2-inch tape, which was really a big update for so many reasons, and really the backbone of a lot of recorded music. And now the digital era, which is where things start to really take off, and some of the techniques we're going to explore today are coming from this era of the digital, which is really cool. This is where sampling is really showing its way in creative ways, and the birth of like the beat maker being able to make beats in their bedroom is starting around the 1980s. And then the internet, big, big, big change of things. Wow. Splice being on the forefront of that, splice.com. So we can go back. We can go back. We can go back pretty late. We can go back to 1948. Pierre Henry and Pierre Schaeffer are the founders of Musique Concrète. These two gentlemen go down in history as the first humans to think about taking music, recorded music, and composing it and using sounds, any sound in the world. So for example, the first Musique Concrète composition, the gentleman on the left went to the train station in Paris and recorded and sampled the sounds. He then came back and chopped up the train sounds and made a composition. So the tool that we see on this left, Pierre Schaeffer, is an early sampler. It's really cool. They would load the samples into the tape head, and then the key head would play at different speeds depending on if you're high or low. Now, let's fast forward a little bit to the 1970s. Don't get me wrong, sampling was taking place up until this point, but hip-hop is really the first style of music to fully embrace sampling. And the break that we picked today, the Amen break, is coming from the 1970s. So before the digital era, you had these DJs, right? Like Grandmaster Flash, who we're going to talk about right now. Grandmaster Flash, one of the founding pioneers of hip-hop, and luckily I've had the pleasure of working closely with him for a couple years as his Ableton Live engineer. He was the first one to put his hands on the record. He was the first one to make the headphone cue. He invented the headphone slip mat, the slip mat for the turntable. Okay, so he would go to a funk record, isolate the break, and just keep on looping that break, looping the break back and forth, turning that 4-bar loop into like a 1-minute break and having an MC go on top of it. So this is like the beginning of sampling and taking in a vinyl in a analog sense. Here's a famous track by Grandmaster Flash. The first is the sample. The second is how he took the sample and made his own music with it.
In the early day, a DJ used to play a record like from start to finish, which I felt that kind of boring to look at or even to listen to. So what I would do is pick the most climatic part or the strongest part, the funkiest part of the record, and just continuously repeat that part over and over again and sync. This is like way before records were, even thought about being made. There was no such thing as a recording artist, rapper on a record, so to speak,
That's an example of finding the break in a record, having that same break happen twice and looping it back and forth, back and forth. It was analog. We had to do that with our hands. So the advent of hip hop really is in the hands of the DJ. The DJ was the pioneer of hip hop. It was the DJ who started looping these breaks and then giving a backbone for the MC. Digital era, 1986. We had Marley Marl in New York City. Okay, 1985. He is the one who founded the sample chop, which is a technique we're going to be learning today to take the almond break and cut it up. So in the 1970s, in the analog time, we can only physically have the records and loop them with a turntable. In 1980s, the advent of digital technology and drum machines, Marley Marl, his job was to find samples. And in his quest of finding samples and organizing, by mistake, he got the kick drum on one drum pad, the snare on another drum pad, and the hi-hat on another drum pad. And that's the birth of the sample chop, where you can now take this loop that was sampled and rearrange it however you want, which is really cool. Here's an example of Marley Marl sampling. First is the sample. We all know this.
Baby, here I am.
How he used the sample.
But it got to be funky. It got to be funky if you're gonna be on it. I don't care who start, I don't care what y'all do, but you got to be finished before the music is through. Listen closely, so your attention's undivided.
All right. All right, so here we are getting into the meat of it, and we're going to learn a little bit about the almond break, which is the sample I selected for this first challenge, and we're going to learn a little bit to why. Here we go.
Well, this particular break is called the Amen break. Here's what it sounds like. Here, I'll play it again. Jungle in particular, it being an amalgamation of reggae toasting, heavy bass lines, and high-speed breakbeats, centers its aesthetic almost entirely around the deconstruction of the Amen. This was done by slicing the original 6-second sample into its individual drum hits. Each
Marl
snare drum,
sample
each
chop.
bass drum, the hi-hats, the crash cymbal. The slices could then be rearranged and manipulated in any number of ways to create new patterns. Here's an earlier jungle artist. This is Shy FX's track, Original Nata, from 1994.
I know you got what you in the jungle. Well, me a the daughter, original man, daughter, original man, daughter, original man, daughter.
All right. Let's take a look at some of these sampling equipment over time. One of my favorite on the left, look at that. This tool that I'll be looking at today, the simpler or even sampler. The first one is on the left. Look how cool that thing is. The one that Marley Marl was messing with was the Akai S612 in 1985. That's where he got the sample chop. And then the turntable, still killing it, still killing it. And then, of course, today, you know, this is kind of just a broad overview of the digital audio workstation. Max Matthews, one of the first pioneers in Bell Laboratories in New Jersey to make the first computer-generated software, which was kind of the backbone to Pro Tools and Ableton. All right, so that was a journey into a little bit of sampling and the roots. So I'm going to share with you some of the basic techniques and of that historic journey that we've gone on, how it changed from the analog times to the digital times. So I'm going to go back to my share screen. Here we go. Let's go back over here and let's bring this to the forefront. So this is the sample in its full form. Let me make sure the audio's all good. Ecamm audio, great. Hopefully it's going through. Okay, so for those of you in the beginning, in the 1970s, in the beginning of hip hop and sampling in its form that we're most familiar with, this would just be taking the sample. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that sample is warped with Ableton, making sure it's on the metronome. Okay, so the first iteration of sampling is just taking that loop in its full form and putting some stuff with it. For example, this is just some loop. This is just a loop from Splice. I didn't do anything to the actual loop. I just repurposed it, and we get this. It's just fun already. And for those of you who are like, man, I mean, for those of you who don't know the almond break, you're probably like, I've heard the almond break a billion times. I didn't even recognize it. I didn't even know what it was. Well, that's what it is. So I didn't do much there. I just got the sample, you know, I got this. I sampled this myself through my record player and recorded it. I'm just letting you know the first thing that you want to do is make sure that sample is on the clock. And at that point, you can work with it in a very simple, straightforward way. So those straightforward, simple ways would just be, for example, taking the sample. Now that it's on the tempo, I can just slow it down and do this. Again, every iteration we're going to hear is taking that loop, the almond break, and just showing you some classic techniques. This technique is I just slowed down my tempo. I slowed down my tempo. I took the sample, I pitched it down, and I put some audio effects on it. So now I get this. So these are just basic modulations that we were seeing. Let's go over it. Some basic modulations. One, I slowed down the sample from here. I can slow it down to hip hop. Hip hop's around 85 to 90 BPM. So I can slow it down. That was one of the early iterations that we were seeing, like NWA taking it. Any hip hop artist that took the almond break were simply slowing it down. And then this is Ableton 11, by the way. It might look a little bit different. Taking the pitch of that sample, lowering it, and I didn't take my drum buzz off. So one iteration, changing the speed of the original sample, slowing it down, making it faster. Second iteration, changing the overall pitch, high, low. Maybe the warp mode will change the tone, quality, and putting some audio effects. The drum bus is an audio effect. It's a channel strip that has distortion, compression. It has this resonant EQ, and it can really make things. So that's some basic audio processing. Okay, so those are some layers. And this was more of a hip hop interpretation. Now for the third example, this would be the more intricate example of going very hard and really taking the sample and creating the Marley Marl sample chop, which is the coolest thing. So Marley Marl goes down in history. He was the first one to discover he can take that sample, as that video was talking about with the turntable and the guy talking in a low voice, where he was like, the almond break started like this, and then they were able to take the almond break, chop it up. Give me 1 second and let me actually, you can't really see it, but I have right here my drum rack, and I was chopping it up. I'm able to chop up the sample and put the snare there, hi-hat of their kick. The only thing I did was layer in an 808 layer with the slice. So here's the original the original kick and hi-hat from the sample, and I created an instrument rack, layered it with a cashmere 808, and I was able to make my own drum beat. So that's the almond break. This is the 1980s. Before the 1980s, the way I was just showing in the first two examples of changing the speed, making it faster and slower. Back then, if you changed something, if you made something slower, the pitch would go down. So changing the pitch and the speed. Great. The next layer is going into the 80s, the digital era, the Marley Marl sample chop. I cut up that loop and was able to control it and rearrange it however I wanted. And guess what? This synth is also made from the Winston brother almond drum, which is crazy. That would be the top tier of sampling, which is called micro sampling, which essentially you can take any sound in the world and turn it into a synth. And just to debunk this thing so you can see that it was originally the sample itself. Let's take this stuff off. Let's take this stuff off. You can see it. I gotta take a lot of stuff off, actually. So through my creative processes of micro sampling, I was able to take that sound and turn it into a micro sample, turn it into a synth. So let's check out one of those techniques first. Okay, so this is for everybody. Slice to MIDI. Here is my original sample. Okay, here we go. Slice to MIDI. This is how we can do it. For those of you who competed in this challenge, maybe you didn't slice to MIDI. Okay, I can go in there and say, hey, okay, I want this kick. I want that kick. There's a couple, wherever I double click, that's going to put that warp marker. That warp marker is going to slice this selection and put that into my drum pad. Double click. I'm picking the sounds that I want to control. I'm adding warp markers by double clicking. I'm taking them away by double clicking. Once you add those warp markers, you can right click. You can slice to new MIDI track. You're going to want to make sure your create one slice per is on the warp marker preset. If you've never done this before, it will be on transient. Please put it on the warp marker. I hit OK. Now, I recommend once it creates that MIDI channel to delete the MIDI clip. That MIDI clip is outlining the warp markers that you slice. You generally don't need it. Now, at this point, if you have a controller or you're programming, you'll see you'll be able to edit the slices. Maybe you didn't get them exactly where you wanted. You can clean them up a little bit. Take away those double hits, which are kind of cool. I kind of like those extra hi-hats. And what I did with the kick is I layered the kick. Command G creates what's called an instrument rack, in which I can now combine any number of sounds, synthesizers, plugins that I want. And I just went to my slice. Whoa. I went to my splice, excuse me, and I got one of my 808s, and I just copied that into my instrument rack where I can now, and also I gotta kind of trick this out a little bit. I want to get my release up on my 808. And at this point, you can do whatever you want to the sound. It's awesome. However you want to program it. Okay, that's one technique. Now the heavy technique, and this will be the last thing I show until we kick off what everyone's probably anticipating. And this is the micro sampling. Okay, microsampling, something we're going to see again and again in this show. Okay, microsampling is taking any sound. As you can see, this is the sample. Setting a very short loop, turning your loop on. I recommend turning your snap off. And you're basically going to find, I like the beginning, we have this little dun, this little stab. So I'm just making this very short loop, very short loop. And at this point, I'm playing on my MIDI keyboard. I got the tone. So the repetition, it's all about creating a very, very, very short loop. And when you press and hold your note, you get that tone. At this point, you're going to want to go into your audio effects, get your tuner, and tune it. We got to make sure when we play C, we get a C. And then we can dress it up a little bit, put some audio effects on it, put a filter envelope on it, you know, really kind of design this sound to give it a little bit more life, a little bit more movement. I love writing my LFO to pitch. Put some reverb on that. I call reverb. Reverb is like salt and pepper, a little hot sauce. You know, you got to dress these things up a little bit. This is the new Ableton Live 11 beta. So I'm going to show off the hybrid reverb, which is just an absolute beast. I'm also going to show off the chorus ensemble, which is also a new cool audio effect. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, that luscious pad is a micro sample, the source being the Amen break. So those are the many journeys of sampling. Thank you for joining me for that ride. All right, let's get started, everybody. Let's get back to it. So now we're gonna finally host this competition. I'm gonna flip back to my screen, but we're gonna transition and we're gonna take a listen to the sample challenge. Now, I just want to, before I get started, I want to put this out there for those of you who want to participate in the next sample challenge. The things that we're looking for are who uses the sample and does the most unique iterations of the sample, okay? So if you just use the sample in its pure form with slight variation, that's cool, but we want to see like who's taking it, chopping it up, distorting it, maybe making a micro sample, maybe glitching it out, maybe, you know, we want at least 2 to 3 iterations of the sample. So this is the sample challenge. This is about taking what we're giving you and doing something creative with it. So let's pop it off. I'm going to go to, not there. Let's go. Hey, I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to open up my Discord and we're going to just kick off. Yes, we're going to just kick off this going straight through it. So we got a few submissions and I'm going to just start with I'm going to go in the order that we got everything in. So here we go. Starting off with TWD Industries. And the track is Armageddon. All right, here we go. So we're not going to play the full song. I already went through and listened to everybody's song. We're going to play just at most a minute. So I know where the sample kicks in with this. Again, I've already listened through all these songs. I know where everything is. We are going to be playing the songs either in the middle or at the beginning and not playing the full songs. So I just want everybody to know who's participating. We're not trying to disrespect your song. We're just going to play a little bit of it. So this particular song, the sample comes in around 120. So we're going to have it kick in just around here. This is a really cool track. Let's hit play. this is different. Sorry, I'm gonna stop. This is better. My apologies. There was 2 posts. This is actually the post. Similar song, just integrating the sample. My apologies. First submission. Here we go. All right. So this was a really nice submission. I thought this was a really great integration. You know, all those examples that we just got into through that historical video of the almond break. You can hear a lot of artists use it, you know, in its full form, and this worked really well. You can hear the essence of the almond break. I also really like the way you process the almond break. With some distortion or some redux, you know, you kind of degraded the sample a little bit, and I thought you meshed it into the production and it added a nice vibe to it. You know, the first part of this, I guess the first version of this song, we were hearing it without the sample and then hearing it with the sample. So TWD Industries, I really think you incorporated this as really cool production. Okay, I really like the song in general. And I think this sample, the way you integrated it and the way you processed it was unique and special. All right, let's move to the next submission. We got Nora. Let's hit play. Again, we're not playing the full song. We're only going to play little sections of it. Right. Nora, thank you for sharing this. I did go through this entire track. Nora, I don't know if you are participating right now. I am, and for those of you who are like, why is this guy looking at his phone? I'm looking at the YouTube talk, and I just want to say shout outs to Sean. And sorry for those of you, I'm not like participating right now in the chat. As you can see, I'm doing quite a lot of talking and listening. Nora, if you're with us, I don't know if you use the sample. Okay, so, you know, as you guys witnessed, I did a micro sampling. I made a synthesizer out of a drum sample. Maybe Nora, you did, or Nora Lux, maybe you did some micro sampling and we don't know. If you did make a synth or a bass line or any of the tonal elements in here, that's very cool. And that's another kind of, you know, this is our first time doing the show, so we're going to communicate to you guys better. If you do something unique where it's to the point where we can't quite even identify the initial sample, let us know. So unfortunately for this submission, I have no idea if the sample is used. Maybe it's not, and maybe, you know, if it's not used, just know the sample challenge isn't a place for submitting original work or remixes or anything of that matter. It's for taking the loop, it's taking the sample that we provide and using that sample. So if I'm missing it, maybe there's a little breakdown in this track that utilizes the sample. But when I listened to it, I didn't find anything that I could pick from it. So moving on to the next sample, next submission, we have Sarux called Recall. Here we go.
Oh, what?
All right. Okay, this is a big production. Sarix, I went through this production. Also not sure where the Amen break sample is in here. Maybe you can clarify and let us know how it is being used. As someone who uses Splice a lot, I can hear the drum kits, and I'm not quite hearing any of the sample in there. Again, I could be wrong. So if you guys are using the sample in a very unique way that is unidentifiable, maybe specify where it is and let us know. But in this case, similar to the last submission, this submission, I'm not quite hearing any use of it at all. And if it is being used to the both artists, I apologize. Feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to tag it in the chat. I'm trying to stay on top of the live chat as best as possible. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. And then just like a little feedback on the mix. The drums are a little too forward in this mix. All right, moving to the next submission. DB, here we go. Sorry, DB. I was listening and talking to Sarix at the same time. Again, I've listened to all of these. And this submission, this is, we can hear the sample. It's being used. It's like the backbone of maybe DB used this and kind of got inspired and laid on the rest of the tonal, the synths, and the keys on top of it. So this would be a good example of we can hear the sample, we can hear it being used. In terms of what we are looking for, we do want to see more iterations. Again, using the sample in its pure form is great. It's such a good sample, right? That's why we hear it so much. Some more iterations. When I say iterations, like cutting it up, chopping it up, changing the speed, changing the pitch, maybe putting some audio effects on it, doing a little bit more to it. And Sarix, if you go like 10 seconds, clearly where everything stops. All right, let's Sarix. I'll get back to that throughout the entire song. Okay, so yeah, that would be my apology, Sarix, of not hearing it, or it's just blended in very well. And that's one of the challenging things about the sample challenge, right? Because we are encouraging you guys to go hard with this stuff. And some of you guys might go so hard we can't even pick it up. So Sarix, I am here, I am talking, and we'll bounce back to it. DB, thanks for the submissions, and thank you everybody who have submitted and participating it. UG or Huge, and if I'm saying it not correct. I apologize. I can't even read normal words as in the English language as it is. Breaking the amen. Here we go. All right. UJ, huge, whatever it may be. I apologize for butchering your artist name, man. What a messed up thing to do on a Sunday. Valentine's Day. Shout out to everybody. Valentine's Day, you know, sharing that love. So this was a really great example of kind of just setting the tone of taking the sample and going a little bit harder with it in terms of, you know, chopping it up, changing the rhythm, changing the pitch, and adding some audio processing to it. So we see a little bit more. And again, this is about the sample challenge and everyone participating for the first time. We encourage you to participate for the next round, and just for every round, it's all about how many iterations you can take. How can you take the sample and do something unique to it that's not just the sample in its full form. So huge, great job taking this and really doing something, you know, pushing the boundaries a little bit further. So let's keep it going. Let's keep on going. We're gonna have to pop out of this. I'm not sure why this didn't load like clean like everybody else, but we're gonna just pop out of this for a second and check out this. All right. Dope. Hold up. Billboard Shah. I'm in beat. Another great example of, you know, taking that sample. Sounds like you chopped it up a little bit. You were able to manipulate and do your own rhythm to it, cutting it up into your own custom drum kit of some sorts. So that was a good example and good use of taking that sample and doing something a little bit further than using it in its full form. Like how it's serving as the backbone to everything else. So nice little hip hop beat with that. Cool. Thank you, Billboard Shah. That was a great submission. Solid submissions overall. And just to rewind, Sarex, I got you sorted out. We'll pop back. I do want to check in, Nora. If you're in the chat, just let us know if you're using this almond break, because I can't hear it anywhere. And if I'm missing it, that is my apologies. Just let us know where it is. Let's keep on moving forward. We're in the final round. We got, I think, one or two more. Okay, we got Pikito. Pikito, here we go. Let's reload. Hey. All right. Bikito, nice submission. Nice, we can hear the sample, we can hear the use of it and bringing it in and laying it on top of your production. It's a nice incorporation. I can feel the V-Day. I'm in my car is covered in ice or something like that. I feel the pain on that. I can feel it through the track. So that was a nice submission. All right. Solid submissions overall. I am going to rewind back to Sarek's track and just give it one more listen for that almond break. I'm going to start in the beginning and then I'm going to go to the last 10 seconds because I believe we're saying it's there in the back. It's a tough one. That would be a track that we would have to pull up on a share screen to really isolate it. So Sarex, I apologize. I can't quite hear, especially if you're using it as the drums. It's super pitched down and slow down. Got you.
Whoa.
Yeah, we would have to pull that up. All right. Well, that's just the reality of this online world we're living in. And, this, as far as like competitions go, for those of you who don't get the prize and don't win, let me flip this screen because we're about to announce the winner. Huh? Look at that. Let me get back to my face. Ecamm, let's go. Let's go. Where is this? I'm on my Ecamm. Trying to flip this. Come on. Oh, well, here it is. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's me. Here it is. Boom. Okay, so, competitions in general, they're cool because they give us a date. They give us a point of inspiration. They give us something to work towards. As a beat maker, I started off with remix competitions, and it's never really about the winner. I mean, for the person who wins, that's awesome, that's dope. But for those that don't win, don't let that be a determinant to your skill set or your abilities to create. These competitions are really geared towards specific needs. And the thing that we're looking for is who did the most creative use of the sample, not just using it in its full form, in its full entirety, but who actually took it, got a little bit more messy with it, cut it up, put it into their own drum kit, put some audio effects on it, so made a micro sample out of it, made it into a synth. And moving forward, if you are enjoying this process and want to participate in the sample challenge, make sure if you do something crazy, tell us, hey, 30 seconds into it, this is what I did to it. Now I'm seeing and hearing some chatting going on somewhere. I think someone's trying to talk to me somewhere, but I can't find it. So let's just keep on going and going and going. So yeah, that's all I want to say is everyone who made music and submitted, you're a winner just by making music. Making music every day, you're a winner. Making music every day and being creative, you're a winner. Challenges are great ways for us to just have a deadline, but don't let that be the determining factor to your worth or to your abilities to make music. We're looking for very specific things, and in the honor of this challenge and what we're looking for and what I'm looking for, the winner who will get our Arturia. Hey, look at see, I told you I can't pronounce stuff, and my screens aren't changing or working the way I want. Don't go to that screen. Oh, here's the message. Okay, whatever. So the winner of this challenge, I can't flip my screen, and I wish I could pronounce the artist's name. Let me try to switch this real quick. Hey, there it is. And the winner is This was a tough one. Okay. Why was it a tough one? Submissions that were doing great and creative things and incorporating it to their style, right? I really am grateful for those of you who like took and used the sample and made something with it. This, in terms of what I was able to pick up, which is one of the challenges of this challenge, I really appreciated like the journey. Like we introduced the sample, okay, and now it's like, oh, take the sample and now let's break it down. So I saw several iterations of the sample where the rhythm was varied, okay, the sample was used in its full form, it was cut up, the pitch was changed, and it was processed. So overall, in comparison to the others who competed in here, most submissions just kind of used the sample in its full form or just chopped it up and processed it in its unique way, in a unique way. Okay, so huge. We will be getting in touch with you. The 343 teams will be getting in touch with you and setting you up with your prize. For everyone else that joined us, thank you for submitting. Keep on making the music. Keep on creating every single day. And for everyone who's looking to get better, you got to check us out. If this is your first time hanging out with us at 343 Labs, get on our Instagram, get on our YouTube, get on our Facebook. We got free class, free information, free stuff coming at you. The 343 TV is just one of many things. We got our master classes online. And then, as always, if you want to go deeper, you got to check out 343labs.com. We got so many classes from mixing, mastering, Ableton production, working with Logic, songwriting, learning some music theory. I'm about to start another class I'm teaching. I'm a teacher here. I'm a certified trainer at 343 Labs. I'm teaching a course right now online. So hopefully I will see you in one of my classrooms. And until then, please join us for the next sample challenge. We will be posting the sample tomorrow. And we'll be hosting this next month, every Sunday, every month on 343 Labs TV. So for those of you who came and joined, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for participating. And yeah, we're just really grateful for everyone who came and joined us today. We'll see you guys next month.